We've now got our main.js file created, but just creating this file doesn't really do us a whole lot. We now want to somehow take this file and execute it inside the browser, and make sure that eventually the code inside of here generates some HTML that gets displayed on the screen. So we need to load up main.js into the browser. To do so, we're going to first set up a little module called Webpack Dev Server. Webpack Dev Server is going to take the output from our Webpack process and make it available in the browser. To set up Webpack Dev Server, we already installed it just a moment ago. All we have to do is make a change to our Webpack config file. So back inside of our editor, I'm going to find the webpack config.js file. I'm going to add a new section inside of here of dev server. Make sure that server has a capital S. Then I'll put in a port of 8081. Now it's really important that you use a port of 8081. Later on, this port number is going to become very critical, and we need to make sure that we've got absolutely identical port numbers. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure out some configuration steps on your own. I'm going to save that file, and then to make sure that I run Webpack with dev server enabled, I will also go into my package.json file. I'm going to find the start script again, and I'll update the command to webpack serve, like so. I'll then go back over to my terminal, and let's run npm run start once again. After another little pause, we'll see a message right there, very briefly, that says that our project is running at localhost 8081. Now we can access the main.js file that was created by opening up our web browser and navigating to localhost 8081/main.js. And there's the contents of our main.js file. You'll notice that we are seeing the contents of the file, which is not really useful to us. We don't want to see the contents, we want to run this file. To run the file, we have to create an HTML document and then reference this main.js file using a script tag. So let's go through that process as well right away. Back inside of my editor, I'm going to create a new directory that I will call public. Then inside that public folder, I'm going to make a new file called index.html. At the very top, I'll put in a doc type. I will put in an HTML tag, a head, a body, and that's all I'm going to put in for right now. You'll notice that we don't have any script tag inside of here at all. Well, it turns out that when we are making use of Webpack, we are not going to try to manually reference that main.js file. Instead, we're going to have Webpack figure out how to add the script inside of here for us. Well, let me show you a diagram just to help you understand why we're going to do that. Okay, so eventually, we want to load up an HTML document inside of our browser that's going to have a script tag that tries to load up that main.js file. So we should see some kind of script tag that says something like source main.js or something like that. We could definitely add that in manually. But as you're going to see very quickly, and I can actually kind of modify our index.js file to do this very easily, we might eventually have files coming out of Webpack that do not have predictable names. Right now, our file that comes out once it's been joined together is always going to be called main.js. But it's very easy to accidentally make some changes to your project, and you're going to eventually want to make these changes. And that's going to have Webpack spit out some file names that have dramatically different names that are absolutely unpredictable. So it might have some kind of identifier like this right at the start of the file name. And these different identifiers are going to be really hard for you to guess. So we can't really just have a static script inside of our HTML document, because it would be really challenging for us to guess what those identifiers are always going to be. So instead, we're going to make use of a little plugin called Webpack HTML plugin. Actually, I think it's called HTML Webpack plugin. This plugin is going to take a look at the different files that are coming out of Webpack. It's going to take a look at those file names and then automatically update that HTML document we just put together to add in some script tags that specifically reference these very specially named files. So this plugin is essentially going to create for us and add into the HTML document 3 script tags with the name of 1K4J43 bundle and 46J3JI.bundle, and the last one right there as well. So this plugin will make sure that we always load up the correct output files that are coming out of Webpack. So let's set up that plugin and tell it to modify that HTML document we just put together. To do so, we'll go back over to our Webpack config file. At the very top, we will import that plugin with HTML Webpack plugin. And then at the bottom of this object, I'm going to put in a plugins array. Inside there, I'll add in new HTML Webpack plugin. We're going to pass it an object, give it a template property, and tell it to use the HTML file inside of public index.html. So this plugin is going to take a look at whatever files are coming out of our Webpack process. It's going to find those file names and then add the appropriate script tags automatically behind the scenes to this HTML snippet right here. Okay, so let's save this. We'll go back over to our terminal and we're going to restart Webpack. We're going to do a Control-C and then another npm run start. And now if we go back over to our browser and go to localhost 8081 without any file names or anything like that, and open up our console, we will see our console log from our code. So it looks like the contents of our index.js file is now correctly being executed. We can also make changes to that file at will. So how about back inside of our index.js file, let's now do everything from 0 up to 5. We're going to do an I less than 5 right there. That should automatically be updated by Webpack. So back in our terminal, it looks like Webpack saw the update we just made to that file. And if we now go back over to our browser, it looks like the console log has automatically been updated as well, and we now see 5 products being generated. Okay, so that is the basics of Webpack. We've now gone through the process of having Webpack concatenate together, not really concatenate, but combine together a bunch of different files, produce one output file, and we're now loading that file up inside of our browser. Now, if all this stuff is just total review for you, I apologize for the review on Webpack, but it's really important for you to understand these basics because as we go through this idea of module federation inside of Webpack, it becomes super critical for you to understand what is going on behind the scenes with Webpack. So let's take a pause right here and continue in just a moment.